Well, it seems like my Lumium blend is certainly coming along. Oh, hello there. I didn't see you there. Come with me, friend. And now you can see that as I teased in my Create Above and Beyond factory tour videos, I have actually built out a gantry shaft elevator. And I know what you're thinking, Agent, why didn't you just use an elevator pulley? And the answer is, they don't exist in this version of Create. So I had to get creative. And this will work in Create 0.35. I'm pretty sure it'll work in earlier versions of Create as long as you have access to redstone links, gantries, and actually I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah, redstone links, gantries, and clutches, and gearboxes, like very basic stuff. This will also work with any form of rotational power source you can think of. I'll just show you my example, but while we're here at the bottom floor, notice that if I push the down button, the shaft doesn't start turning again. But anyway, as I was saying, this should also be future compatible too. So you should be able to run this in Create 0.5. I believe that's the current version, 0.5E or F, one of those. But we are down here at the bottom for a very good reason, and that's because it is the easiest to show you the contraption that governs each of the floors, as well as the top and bottom floors. So you can see on the bottom of this elevator, we have redstone contact. You can also see that we have a redstone link, but because this is the bottom floor, we also have two redstone links. This first one is tuned to the signal that we have reached a floor, signified by a gantry shaft and a red piece of wool, because, you know, floor stop, more or less. This one indicates that we've reached the bottom floor, signified by andesite, which is, you know, what is produced down here in Create Above and Beyond. It's down at bedrock, and again, red piece of wool, first stop. So that's the end stop. We've reached the end of the track. So therefore stop. Don't do anything else. If we come back up here, we have a lectern with a remote control on it. And you'll also notice that while I'm on this elevator, because this is 0.35 and we don't have like Create Interact or anything like that, this controller doesn't actually do anything between floors. It's kind of just locked in. It just travels with us. But I think it's an elegant solution to not having access to a floor select. The only drawback is I haven't coded in like very complex logic, which I could have done with computer craft. I could have, and I originally intended to, make a very sophisticated elevator system with calls and floor stops and proper elevator scheduling so that if two people were riding the elevator and one pushed the floor below this and one pushed, you know, like 2 floors below that, they'd go in the correct order even if they were pushed in different orders. You get what I'm saying. Anyway, so I decided to make this using almost vanilla redstone and basic Create contraptions so that anyone can make this. And if requested, I will try to put a schematic in the descriptions. It's going to be a little bit difficult because this is a survival world, and I'm going to want to clean up the stuff that's not part of the contraption, so a lot of this shaft will have to go, for instance, and a lot of the terrain above will also have to go. So if I do that, I'll probably have to copy the schematic into a creative world, edit it, and then create the schematic again, and then upload that. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let's get on to the redstone outside. Okay, so here we are with the redstone. Like I said, it's mostly vanilla, but let's just go over this stuff. It's been a while since I've done a tutorial, but I decided rather than trying to force myself to work on something in the Vault Hunter series, which I'm going to get to tomorrow when I'm feeling a little bit more fresh and just have a little bit more time, but instead of working on something there, I just wanted to make a tutorial because I talked about this during my factory tour and, you know, I have implemented it. I figured some people will be interested in it. That's what people used to like me for, I like to think. Some redstone tutorials for, you know, piston things that I made for Mumbo. And so let's just start with the power source. This is a windmill bearing, obviously. I've fashioned this windmill in the shape of like a vertical turbine, I think, where typically you have 3 blades or fins, and they sort of curve in such a way that no matter which way the wind is coming from, it always spins. And you can't really do that in Minecraft, but I did the closest darn thing. And I don't think it really matters how many sails or wool blocks that you have on the windmill, it just matters that it's turning, because I don't think gantry shafts actually consume stress units whatsoever. So that means you can, power it with literally anything, and I'm pretty sure this works. Now what we have here is a rotation speed controller. That's just how I'm setting it to 48 specifically. I think you could potentially go as high as 64. That's a little bit fast for my tastes, but any faster than that, and there's the very good potential that your elevator descends faster than you can, and you take a lot of fall damage in your own elevator shaft, and that's a terrible idea. So try to keep it like 64 or less. I think 48 is a little happy medium, if a little slow. So now we get to the sort of brain of the elevator, or not really the brain, the motor cortex of the elevator. Something like that. My cognitive science metaphors are just going off the rails right now. Anyway, so what powers this is we have a gearbox and 2 clutches. This is something like a rudimentary gear shift, only the speeds are forward and reverse. So let's envision for a second, shall we? We can see that this shaft is turning away from us, and we'll just, from this perspective, we'll call that clockwise. So bear with me, and I'm going to stop touching my mouse right about now, just so I can theoretically add some extra stuff to the screen while I talk. So this is spinning the same direction, regardless of which chain gear shaft that it's going through. Everything is spinning quote-unquote clockwise or away from us. Now, on the left, which I happen to know controls the downward motion, if that goes through and the clutch is off, then the left side of the gearbox is going to start turning in the same direction, and that's going to make the bottom of the shaft, what's connected directly to the gantry, start turning counterclockwise, I believe. And if you just follow along with your hands, your left hand goes away from you if you try to make the curving motion that this shaft is doing in front of us, and if you put another hand below that and to the right, if you use your right hand to simulate the motion, and you just sort of turn them like they're gears, you will notice that your right hand is sort of making a counterclockwise movement, and you can see that I've drawn this out on screen as well. That also means that the top of the gearbox is going to be turning the opposite way. It's going to be turning clockwise theoretically, and that also means that the inside, or the gearbox part of the shaft on the rightmost clutch is going to start turning the opposite direction, or quote-unquote counterclockwise. It's going to start turning towards us, and I've theoretically drawn all this on screen so you can follow along with me. Anyway, if we disable the clutch to the right, and only the clutch to the right, then the opposite is going to happen. The right side is going to start turning quote-unquote clockwise, or away from us, and then that means that the bottom of the shaft is going to start turning clockwise, vertically speaking, and then the opposite side is going to start turning counterclockwise. Now, it's very important that both of the clutches are engaged and only one, up to one, is disengaged, because in a previous take, I tried testing some things, and it did exactly what I expected. If both clutches are off at the same time, one of them is going to break. That is a feature of Create to prevent, weird stress interactions with shafts trying to turn opposite directions at the same time. And I know there's some add-ons in future versions of Create that you can do that with, using very specific, coaxial shafts, if memory serves correctly. But I can't do that in this one because this is 0.35. So that is the gearbox and the gear shift, more or less. That is our up and down. Now, let's get into the system that controls it. Like I said, it is mostly vanilla redstone. We do, of course, use the create redstone links, and we also have powered latches. And there is one way in the previous take that I discovered that I can theoretically make this better, but I don't have the time to explain my thoughts and also, test it or anything like that. So we're just going to be explaining the design as is. Now, let's follow along. So, you may recall that this is the signal for we have reached a floor. On every floor, there's a redstone contact that has one of these links in transmission mode, and it's tuned to this particular frequency. It goes into a pulse former, which is a rising edge monostable pulse generator. You can do this using vanilla mechanics by having, not a sticky piston, a regular piston with a falling block on top of it, and you basically would just take this redstone link, put it into a repeater pointed at that falling block that's on top of the piston, and when the thing is powered, it will push the piston up, push the falling block up, and that will cut the signal as well. So you will get one, pulse going through to this redstone wire. So that's how you can replace this if you want to be much more vanilla than I am, or if you're in a different pack that doesn't have CB multi-part pulse formers. So that's the one thing that you need to keep in mind. You might need to swap out. Like I said, just use a vanilla rising edge monostable pulse. That's fine. It goes into this redstone wire. The powered latch functions as a T flip-flop, and you can see that if we power it from the back, these turn off, and if we power it from the sides, these turn on. Or, it basically just toggles it. I don't actually know if it's off or on right now because we have this torch-looking thing, which is technically a negation. Anyway, I'm rambling. So the point is, right now, both of the clutches are locked. And you can see that I also took my linked controller with me, so we're going to have a live demo of the signaling from up here, except this time I'm not going to break it. So let's move on to the left half, the down half. You can see that this is the signal that's going to control the down signal, and this is controlling the up signal. If I look in my controller, we have bound up to spacebar, which is Minecraft for jump. You go up. It makes sense. We have bound down to shift, which is, typically go down or dismount, which, again, Minecraft logic makes sense. I did this so that if anybody other than me used this controller, and as long as they knew that, it's WASD and shift and space, they would be able to figure out this elevator pretty quickly. And so, that's just a nice usability factor that I think a lot of people would appreciate. So, let's examine down. Down sends a signal through this. And because of how we're placing this on a lectern on a moving object, once I push any button while riding the elevator, this immediately turns off. This is effectively a single pulse. But it'll work even though I have the controller in my hand, as long as I don't do what I did in the last take. So, first, it toggles both clutches off. This was designed such that it toggles both of these on, I guess. It toggles the clutches on so that there's no rotation. It was designed such that if you're moving in a particular direction and somehow you do have access to this control, like, say you're holding it in your hand, like me, then pushing the opposite button isn't going to break your machine. It's going to toggle everything off first and then apply the signal to move in the opposite direction. This works if you're going up or down and then switch directions. It's pretty nice. So, then we have the same signal coming out of our down, and it just goes through the repeater. This is the happy path. If we were at the bottom of the elevator shaft, then this repeater would be on, this would be locked, and no signal could pass through. And I'll talk about this in a little bit, but that's also how I broke my elevator in the last take. Finally, because this has a delay of 3, this will always shut off before this shuts off, so then that means that this is going to flip, and then this clutch will be off, and then you'll start to descend. Gonna get a little bit quick here because we are going into nighttime and this is on a server. So, you can currently see that because we're at the top, we have the top signal triggered, this is locked, and if I were to try to move up anymore, and I'm going to demonstrate this right now, if I try to move up anymore, this doesn't actually do anything. So we're kind of stuck there. But now, if I push down, you can really quickly see the entire system spring into action. And we just received a pulse because we're at basement floor 1. Pulse again. Basement floor 2. And let's bring it back up. So now you can see the opposite has happened because we're going up. And I'm going to push it again. So you can see that we get this turning on, then it turns off, and then this turns on, like I said. And just really quickly, without breaking it this time, I'm going to demonstrate that we're currently between floors. And if I push it, just tap it, not holding it, then it reverses and we come back up. Now the problem last time is that I accidentally held the button, or I intentionally held the button because I thought these worked a little bit differently than I thought. So I held the button, then this signal was still on when the redstone link locked. This turned off, And then we accidentally toggled this latch on at the same time, and then this clutch broke. I'm pretty sure I still have the footage of that take, so if so, I might overlay it on screen. But that is my elevator. I figured folks would appreciate that. I figured it would be just a nice little break from Vault Hunters. Not that I'm tired of Vault Hunters, that is. I just felt like showing something that I'd made without thinking about trying to build, my base. But now that I've said that, I have thought of what I want to do next in Vault Hunters. Anyway, I just thought this would be a nice little tutorial, so let me know if you want a copy of this schematic. I will try to make that happen soon-ish, probably check back a week from this video if you really want one. Feel free to let me know if there are any other Create-based tutorials that you'd like to see, etc., etc. We are actually about to unlock that in Vault Hunters too, so there's going to be some pretty cool stuff ahead of us. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified, and as always, I'm looking forward to your feedback in the comments below. And with that, I will catch you on the flip side. Thanks for watching, everybody. I don't actually think I can crouch yet because I'm still bound to the controller. Well, oh, yeah, there we go. Thanks for watching, everybody.